Hello, friends. We welcome you to the Legal Breeze. Today, we will be dealing about the 97th Constitutional Amendment of India. What is this 97th Amendment? Is talking about it. Why we should discuss it? What is the subject matter of 97th Amendment? These are the few things we will be discussing it today in this program. 97th Constitutional Amendment is dealing with the cooperative societies. One may rightly ask me, Sir, whether we do not have cooperative societies prior to the constitutional amendment of that is the 97th Constitutional Amendment to the Indian Constitution. The answer is yes, we have the cooperative societies right from the British India era onwards. I think we have a specific act way back in 1912 dealing with the cooperative societies registration and other procedures associated with the Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative societies are registered under that particular act. We have elections to be conducted. There are many more things. The father of the cooperative movements is known as Sir Robert Owen. I think he should be from German. Then later on, these movements have spread to the England after the industrialization. We have this strong roots of cooperative society right from the British era. In the PDS system in India, which we follow, at least to the best of my knowledge, in the state of Tamil Nadu, is itself is a typical cooperative societies. Please remember, cooperative societies are forming part of, are coming within the ambit of the other authorities embedded under Article 12 of the Constitution of India. That means it is a part of the state. So prior to the 97th Amendment, our constitution has envisaged only three-tier government. That is the central government or union government, whatever you may call it. Then you have the state government. And parallel to the district administration, you have Panchayat Raj institutions. In the rural area, it is called Panchayat Raj institutions. In urban area, it is called municipalities. After that, because you have elections for these three tiers, for the parliament, legislature and Panchayat Raj institutions. The fourth tier can be called as cooperative societies, because there is also election and we have a separate election authorities functioning for this. Please remember, neither the Election Commission of India nor the state election commissions are conducting elections for this, but there is a separate arrangement for conducting the cooperative elections are concerned. Now, why Parliament has to legislate on this, particularly why the constitutional amendment was necessitated? We all know cooperative societies, since it is run by the state governments, some states are doing really good, some states are not doing good. Sometimes it is very worse. Because it is subjected to populism, instead of the cooperative societies are run on the professional basis, it is subjected to the political parties' whims and fancies, whichever parties happen to be the ruling party. So they wanted to correct it. I understand there is a committee called Vaidyanathan Committee, which has recommended to the government of India to make the cooperative society from the list 2 to list 3, that is to the concurrent list. As of now, cooperative societies are found under entry 32 of the list 2, that is the state list. When the subject matter has been falling exclusively within the state list, then how the parliament can enact a law, valid law on that? That's a question. Even if you want to amend the constitution, then that amendment, there are certain procedural safeguards embedded under Article 368 of the Constitution of India. 368 of Constitution of India, what it says, whenever the subject matter of the states, subject matter of the entry is given in the state list is involved, then it will not be competent for the parliament to amend on its own. The amendment will become valid only when the parliament is able to get ratification or consent. At least 50% of the states should support it through ratifications or consent after the amendment has been passed by both the houses of the parliament. But before it is getting assent of the president and notified thereafter. So this is the procedural safeguards given to safeguard the cooperative federalism in our country, or federalism, whatever you may call it. But this cardinal principle has been simply violated by this particular amendment is concerned. Fortunately or unfortunately, states have slept upon this. The object, nobody is denying the object of making this amendment is so good. But you do not have the authority to do this. Primarily because of the procedural infirmities. If this has been subjected to the consent of the state legislatures, if 15 or 16 states have given consent to that, then there is no issue at all. But without submitting to the consent of the state, this amendment has been validated. This amendment has been notified. Based on that, number of transactions have also been started. Say example, now RBI is firmly setting its roots in regulating the cooperative societies banks. Previously it was not the case. Like that, there are many more developments have taken place. There is a gentleman called Rajendran N. Shah in the state of Gujarat has rightly approached the Honorable High Court of Gujarat contenting all these things. The Honorable High Court of Gujarat has rightly struck down this amendment because it violates the procedural safeguards embodied or enshrined under Article 368 of our Constitution. Therefore, they have struck down this. The Union of India has made an appeal before the Supreme Court. Please remember, almost this amendment has been moved in 2011 before the Parliament. I think it could have come into operation by 2012. Almost a decade, because we have this judgment very recently, just last week, probably 23rd July, something like that. Almost a decade to declare whether this particular piece of constitutional amendment is valid or not. Is it constitutional or unconstitutional? Now, there are 3 judge bench comprising of Rohinton Nariman and 2 more judges. And I think Justice Joseph has given a dissenting opinion here. This judgment is concerned. But majority, there are 2 parts of judgment. They applied the doctrine of severability. They say partially this constitutional amendment is invalid, remaining portion is valid. How will you understand this portion is valid, that portion is not valid? That's the question. Now if you take if you go by part 9b of our Constitution, that is Article 243 ZH2, 243 ZT is dealing with the cooperative societies. They say it is partially valid and partially invalid. Whereas Justice Joseph, the Honorable Judge of the Supreme Court of India, differs with the majority view. He says the whole constitutional amendment is invalid because of its violation of the procedural safeguards embodied or enshrined under Article 368. So, the argument of the majority judgment is that what they say, the Parliament has jurisdiction on the multi-state cooperative societies, whereas it doesn't have the jurisdiction to deal with the state cooperative societies functioning essentially within the boundaries of the states. That's what their argument. However, Justice Joseph G is not agreeing with this view. Now, another contention made by the government of India is that none of the states have challenged this. Therefore, they say it is valid. But that argument has also been wholeheartedly, unanimously rejected by the Supreme Court of India. They said just because the states have not challenged this, it doesn't mean that this procedural violation of the procedural safeguards can be cured. Any citizen of this country has a right to challenge this and get redressal of the same. We should be thankful to Sri Rajendran Ji because he has saved the state's power, federalism, and because it is within the essential list of the state. touching the grassroots level. The public distribution system, the ration shops are managed by a cooperative society called Primary Agricultural Cooperative Banks. That's what it is called officially. PAZB. PACB. That's what people call it. In Tamil, it is called Todaka Velanmai Kooturovu Vangi. That is how it is known as. Now, when you allow central government to regulate all these things, of course, uniformity can be achieved, but again it looks like one nation, one ration, something like that. The different aspect of the different geographical needs, different needs of the citizen, different local needs is getting vanished, bypassed. And that is why our constitutional framers have rightly placed these things in the state list. That is the crux of this particular judgment is concerned. Now, we need to understand the RBI, I think they are also constantly expanding their footprint on the cooperative societies, banks. In a way, it is welcomeable because the core banking facilities, computerization, all these things, yes, certainly welcomeable. But it should take care of the needs of its members. Majority of them are residing in the rural area, illiterates. So unless this digital divide is being taken care of, consumer literacy has to be improved drastically. If all these things are done, certainly the governance, the effective governance of the cooperative society will certainly result into the good governance of the country. There is no doubt on this. But for that, the state governments have to be incentivized rather than dictating from the central government. Please remember, this has not been done by the NDA government, it has been done by the UPA government. And that too, in UPA, there are some political parties, they used to claim themselves as the protectors of the state autonomy. What they have done, we do not know. A public spirited citizen is able to do that. And that shows another thing. What is that legal academicians are doing? Can't we do some research on this? I am afraid whether this is the only amendment which has bypassed or which has escaped this procedural safeguard. Are there any other amendments other than this? I think we need to have a thorough review, because otherwise this is a clear-cut trespass upon the parliament, encroachment into the powers of the state government by the parliament. So we need to have a cooperative federalism. We should have mutual faith and mutual trust. Trust deficit should not happen. Thanks to the Supreme Court, which has rightly interpreted and rightly intervened, we hope good sense prevails sooner rather than later. God bless you all. Jai Hind. Thank you.